For the past couple years, I've barely played anything other than sports or FPS games, and I recently decided to go back to my roots by diving into the tedious world of Platinum Trophy and achievement hunting. After just a few minutes, I knew where, or actually when, I needed to look. 2017 was a banner year for video games, bringing us titles like Zelda Breath of the Wild, Resident Evil 7, Destiny 2, and one of my personal favorites, Horizon Zero Dawn. The open world RPG sees us take control over Aloy, a Nora outcast girl, in what ends up being one of the best told stories in recent gaming history. Come along with me on a journey to take over this post-apocalyptic world as we try to get the Platinum Trophy in Horizon Zero Dawn. In order to achieve the Platinum Trophy, I need to do a few things. First off, in beating the main storyline of the game, I'll earn potentially 28 out of the 56 total trophies. Step 2 will be completing all of the side quests and taking on all of the different machines of the world. That would give me another 16, putting our total at 44 out of 56. Last step, collectibles. Like many other RPGs, collectibles are a huge part of completing the game, and by getting all of them, I'll tack on another 11 trophies, putting us at 55, with the Platinum making it 56. We begin with Aloy learning from Rost as we get our first trophy upon saving a young boy from the machines. We then get taken through one of the best training montages I've seen in quite some time, where we see young Aloy truly come into her own and begin to realize the potential that she will eventually need to save the world, ending with a smooth transition from young Aloy to adult Aloy. And thus begins our hunt. Traveling through the North Gate, we grab our 10th stealth kill and even duel it out with a Sawtooth, the strongest early game machine that we'll find. Honestly, the first time I saw a Sawtooth, it was shocking because up to that point, everything we fight is relatively small by comparison. After a hard battle, I kinda hate that we didn't get to see the kill, but we'll take the trophy. Number 3 is out of the way. We grab trophies 4 and 5 back to back as we knock a component off this Strider and immediately make our first weapon modification. And trust me, these weapon modifications come in handy later down the line. The Proving is our next target, as this is how Aloy can go from outcast to welcome member of the Nora tribe as a brave. Unfortunately, things unravel, and although we grab another trophy here, really nobody won as many lives were lost and the tribe is now in a bad state. And as if things weren't difficult enough, Rost was killed in the aftermath, leaving Aloy with no family to speak of. After some time, we've healed from our wounds and go to exit Mother's Heart, and
what in oblivion is that?
We kill the machine known as a Corruptor and finally begin our journey as Seeker of the Nora tribe, hoping to find the answer of who attacked us during the Proving. Upon exiting, we ventured into an underground cave and found one of our first collectibles, a metal flower. Then in one of the most breathtaking moments you'll find in a video game, we meet our first tall neck and climb to its head, revealing a portion of the map. As we do that, we also hit level 10, giving us trophy number 9. Arriving to the first hunting grounds, I then remember that I need to knock down these dummies.
Dummy, yeah.
We take on the hunting grounds challenges and surprisingly earned a Burning Sun on our first attempt, the highest honor you can achieve. Good news is now all I had to do was get a Burning Sun for every other hunting challenge.
I have crippling depression.
I then easily beat all 3 of the challenges for this grounds and picked up trophies number 10 and 11. If fighting blood-crazed machines wasn't enough, there are also bandits spread all over this world, but for the most part, they're pretty easy to dispatch. Something that wasn't as easy to deal with were these corrupted zones, because they get filled with several machines with more health and defenses. Typically, 1 or more large machines get shoved in there as well, meaning you have to really use the environment around you to your advantage. Here we got our first vantage point, which basically shows clips of the old days with things like concerts. Grabbing our first ancient vessel also gets us our 15th trophy. Okay, seriously, one of the coolest attacks in this game is striking from above, and them making it a trophy was genius. Progressing the story, we come to the Revenge of the Nora mission, where we have to blow up a giant batch of blaze while fending off cultists and machines to prevent more corruptors from being activated. Once we win, War Chief Sona decides we deserve another trophy. Horizon did this thing where they took old school dungeon style areas and made them ultra mechanic, creating cauldrons for Aloy to search and eventually override. Each cauldron allows you to override new machines, and the harder they are, the larger the machine. Completing all of these ASAP comes in handy as you get through the main story. While corrupted machines are stronger than regular ones, they're technically more vulnerable to things like fire arrows. Showing off our sniper skills with the bow reminded me of an old Call of Duty trailer.
Hey man, how's your face? Oh, it's completely off your body? That's cool. Off.
As we grab our first Banuk figure here in trophy number 21, this seems like a perfect time to tell you that I do stream these playthroughs. You can catch me live on Kick and TikTok, just search pseudo-LG. After being turned down at the gate because I didn't clear the corrupted machines nearby, I went back, took them out, and returned to find a corruptor at the gate, taking this one out as well and getting another trophy. I finally had my first meeting with a Thunderjaw at level 24, and these big guys are no joke. Helping myself by overriding a nearby Sawtooth, I shot it up and hit level 25. The craziest thing about fighting Thunderjaws is you think they're really hard until you fight the final one. We'll talk about that later. Remembering that I can spam arrows harder than Hadoukens in Street Fighter,
Hadouken! 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 Hadouken!
I ended up taking out all transport machines, as well as all recon machines moments later. And although it got the jump on me a few minutes later, I was able to dispatch of this Ravager and take out the last combat machine needed. I decided my first encounter with a Thunderjaw was too easy and went to the next cauldron knowing there was another. After a crazy fight, we took it out while knocking off its heavy weapon. I noticed another metal flower, so I went to grab it, but what I didn't notice was the giant mega death bird shooting balls of electricity at me. Knowing I needed to escape, I found a nearby strider and hit it with the override to make it my noble steed.
And where would a brave knight be without his noble steed?
All right, I hope you heard that. She called me a noble steed. She think I'm a steed.
Meridian is a major city in this story, and here you see Aloy and Aaron pushing a blaze-filled pallet off a cliff, saving the city from catastrophe. We then face off against Dervahl, the man who tried to blow up the city. After clapping his cheeks, he revealed that he had one more trick up his sleeve, using a beacon to summon several Glinthawks to the fight. After they're done, Sun King Avad grants us Trophy 29. In case you've never played Horizon Zero Dawn before, the entire story is based around Aloy not knowing anything about her past, or more specifically, her mother. Journeying through the world, we discover Hades, the evil entity behind the machine attacks, and that the woman we believe to be Aloy's mother is called Elizabeth Sobek.
Elizabeth is gonna be in the corner of the Macho Man Randy Savage,
who saved the world from the first machine plague. A pro tip if you do decide to play this game at some point, grab the concentration skill as early as possible because it's not only helpful, but it also provides cool kill clips like the one for trophy number 31. Sliding back into the Collectathon zone, we grab our final Banuk figure and Ancient Vessel here to tack on 2 more trophies. In total, there were 6 Banuk figures and 12 Ancient Vessels in the game, and honestly, they all tell really cool stories. There's a mystery man who throughout the game has been helping to guide Aloy along her quest, who we find out is called Sylens. He sends you deep into the Shadow Carja camp, not informing her that Hades is actually there. As she climbs to the top of the down tall neck, she comes face to face with her true foe. Aloy makes an incredible escape through the camp, rappelling down as she sees it blow up while she crashes down into the water at the bottom of the waterfall. Sylens appears but leaves promptly as usual, frustrating Aloy but giving us another trophy. We're at the point in the game where we're finishing off a lot of quests and challenges that were started earlier in the game as we're preparing for the final rest before facing off with Hades and its machine army. Trophy number 35 sees us climb atop the final tall neck and override it, revealing any of the map we've not yet crossed. Moments later, we went to the final vantage point, looking at the ancient Monument Valley Vantage. We end up clearing the final bandit camp as we're working to help Sunstone Village on the Sunstone Rock quest, and then shortly after that, we go to our final corrupted zone, taking out corrupted Glinthawks and Scrappers, who honestly are 2 of the more annoying machines to face in the game. I'm not sure if it's the added element of flight, but I absolutely loathe any of the bird machines in this game.
I loathe you. I loathe you.
Even if Glinthawks for the most part are pretty easily killed. By this point, I've seen and taken out just about every machine in the game except for a few. I rectify that by going to a charger site and stealth killing one, ending my final acquisition machine. The final cauldron, known as RHO or Ro, puts you up against a Snapmaw and a Sawtooth in order to override its core, but both of them can be taken out if you know what kind of arrows to use and set smart traps, or in this case, if the Sawtooth just doesn't attack you while you're fighting the Snapmaw. After completing all of the other hunting grounds areas, we come to the final one, which also happens to, by far, be the most difficult of any of them. Mission 1 requires us to stealth kill 4 Watchers. Mission 2 is to loot 4 Shellwalker crates, but the catch with that is you have to do it in under 1 minute and 5 seconds, and some of the crates have to be shot off their backs still, so it makes it a lot more difficult. Pro tip though, on this mission, you can actually pre-shoot them off, so if you go before you start this and take a Terrablast arrow, shoot them in the back, that will knock the crates off, and then you can start it and they'll already be all on the ground. The final trial requires us to kill 2 Stalkers in under 2 minutes. Stalkers get their name because unless you see them move, they're basically invisible, and they will take you out if they happen to see you move. By this point in the game, I know how to take them out though, so this should be pretty easy if I can avoid fighting the plethora of nearby machines that are alongside them at this hunting ground. I end up completing this trial, giving me all 3 done and earning not only my final set of Blazing Suns, but all suns available at all grounds. In what ends up being the hardest single enemy to face in the game in my opinion, we go on a quest to complete the Red Maw mission, where alongside our hawk Talana, we take out a giant Thunderjaw called Red Maw. Red Maw has been heavily scarred due to the many foes that it's vanquished, and it makes for a really massive fight. Dude's health bar is big. It's real big. Upon killing Red Maw, we return to the Hunter's Lodge where Talana, now Sunhawk, gives us another trophy. The final piece of our collectathon is within our view, grabbing our 30th metal flower in the Snowy Mountains. If you remember at the start of the video, I had a clip of Aloy being nearly chokeslammed by an Undertaker-looking fellow.
We have 3 words for you. Go yourself.
He ends up being a big bad named Helis. Helis is actually the leader of the Shadow Carja, but is unknowingly being used as a pawn by Hades. As soon as Aloy discovers the truth, she is nearly killed and taken captive by Helis to fight and die in Sunfall's arena, but Aloy uses her wit in order to make a corrupted behemoth knock down the pillars of the arena and get her weapons, armor, and focus back in her hands. Unfortunately, it appears that Aloy is doomed after her victory, where we actually hit level 50 and got another trophy, because Helis uses 2 corruptors to end the Nora's quest. Instead, she is saved by Sylens, riding on an overridden Strider and bringing Aloy one as well. The pair escape, but not for long, as Aloy gets word that the machines have begun attacking her homeland at Mother's Heart. We return home to the place where we were once an outcast, ridding Mother's Heart of the machine threat and finally entering Allmother, the mountain where Aloy was found as a baby. Inside the mountain, Aloy discovers that she was in fact a machine-made clone of Elizabeth Sobek, and she was specifically created to stop Hades from ending the world with its failsafe protocol. Tidying up some loose ends from around the world, we go on to aid the escape of Child King Idaman and his mother Nasadi, as they escape the Shadow Carja to get back to their home in Meridian, where the true Sun King Avad reigns. Knowing what comes next, as I've played Horizon once before when it originally released, I knew I had to get the final cores and grab the Shieldweaver armor, which will basically make me invincible as it repairs itself over time, which is going to be huge in the coming battles. In one of the more heartbreaking moments of the game, during the Mountain That Fell quest, Aloy discovers that Elizabeth chose to sacrifice herself in order to save the crew working on Zero Dawn. Her sacrifice really hit Aloy hard as she begins to marvel at the kind of person she was created to replicate. In the workshop during the same mission, we meet up with Sylens again, and he informs us that our journey together has reached its end. He informs Aloy that it was him who actually discovered and revived Hades because of his thirst for knowledge and understanding that Hades had years upon years of it. He also tells her how to defeat the Metal Devil and gives her the means to do so, which are his lance and the Master Override. Aloy then fastens the override to the lance and is on to her next stop, Meridian, and the final battle with Hades. But not before one final pit stop to knock over our 23rd Grazer dummy, because I kind of forgot I needed to do it again. As Aloy lays down to kick off the final events of the game, she ends up contemplating everything that she has done to this point, questioning everything and even asking Sylens if he still happens to be there so she can talk, to which she gets no response, which honestly, is anybody surprised by that? Dude said he was gone and he's been ghosting her the whole game anyways. Aloy finally is able to get her hands on Helis and is able to enact her revenge, getting retribution for Rost's death at the Proving. As Helis perishes, he claims that this defeat cannot be, as Hades, who he calls the Buried Shadow, will save him. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. He's a bozo. F that guy. They finally let you use far and away the most fun weapon in the game, which is basically a souped up RPG, which makes defending the Ridge honestly super easy, as you can take out multiple enemies at one time, even if they're at a large distance, and just watching these guys blow up brought me a lot of joy, I'm not gonna lie. Unfortunately, the machines do end up landing a near fatal attack on the Ridge, knocking Aloy unconscious long enough for Hades to make its way to the Spire, where it will end up releasing the Minerva Protocol and awaken all of the machines, causing a second global extinction. Once atop the Spire, we have an epic battle with a Deathbringer and a horde of other machines being called to help defend Hades. Eventually, we come out victorious with the help of our friends and make a beeline for Hades with the Lance and Master Overrider, officially bringing an end to the threat. While overriding Hades, Aloy fulfills her destiny, utilizing Alpha Prime to purge the Extinction Protocol. We then watch as the Spire is destroyed and all life on the planet is saved. The heroes celebrate, but as the celebration continues, we cut to Aloy taking a visit to Sobek Ranch, Elizabeth's home. She finds her and shares a moment while listening to some of her audio logs.
If you had had a child, Elizabeth, what would you have wished for him or her?
I guess I would have wanted her to be curious. And willful, unstoppable even, but with enough compassion to heal the world.
After that, we get one final moment with Sylens being extremely ominous, having captured Hades.
Knowledge has its rewards, don't you think? Well, let's begin.
As soon as that cutscene ends, we grab trophy number 53, and I think it's high time we finish off this platinum. Realizing that in spite of the fact that I've climbed several of them throughout the course of the game, I've never actually examined a tall neck, so I find the nearest one and do so. I then spend some time clearing out enemies across the world, getting myself to level 55 and obtaining the final skill. This finally completes our platinum playthrough of Horizon Zero Dawn.